2019 was a big growth year for point-of-sale and e-commerce company Lightspeed, which went public last March. It's been opening locations around the world. It is now opening its first Toronto location. And Paige Ellis is standing by with Dax Dasilva, the CEO of Lightspeed. Paige.
Thanks so much, John. Dax, I want to start with the challenge of hiring in a market like Toronto. You have a lot of different tech players here. This is a tech hub. How challenging was it to attract good talent in a market like this?
Well, I think Lightspeed's got a lot of interesting, exciting projects happening at the company. Some of the most groundbreaking and innovative projects at Lightspeed are happening here in the Toronto office. So I think that the nature of what we're doing here is interesting and pulls great talent. There's some unique talent pools in Toronto. For example, the financial talent pool. We've built our payment operations team for Lightspeed Payments here. There's great engineering talent as well, for Lightspeed Retail and Lightspeed consumer apps like Loyalty. It's all built here in Toronto. Continuing on the financial talent, our corp dev team, which has been responsible for all the many acquisitions you've seen over the last year, also based here in Toronto. So we're really excited about the 27 people that we've started with here, and are going to continue to grow. And
we're going to circle back to some of the topics you just brought up, M&A and payments. But first, I want to ask, living in Toronto, it ain't cheap. The cost of living is substantially higher in this market versus the other markets that you have in Canada, which I believe are Ottawa and Montreal.
Right.
How have you adjusted your compensation for employees to account for the fact that their living expenses are higher? Right.
We're in 14 cities around the world, and there is variability in cost. We also have offices in London and Zurich, some of the most expensive places in the world. So certainly, the costs to employ people here in the city are more, but we have to accommodate,
right,
of course. But that's I think that to access this special, very unique pool of talent is absolutely necessary for where Lightspeed is at its stage of growth.
You talked about how some of your peers here will be working on the M&A strategy. Mm-hmm. One analyst who we reached out to ahead of this interview quipped that Lightspeed POS appears to be doing an acquisition a quarter. A couple weeks ago, you announced that you acquired a big business in Germany, largest acquisition to date. Can you maintain that M&A pace?
Well, this has been a part. We have a strong organic growth strategy, but we also want to consolidate a very fragmented market in cloud-based POS, and we've been doing that by making sure that some of the biggest players that are like mini Lightspeeds around the world come under our umbrella. We're really excited about what Lightspeed's platform really does for business. We just put out our year in review for 2019, and we showed that Canadian retailers grow 6 times faster on the Lightspeed platform than your average retailer in the country. Mm-hmm. So we just did these statistics to know for ourselves, what is the impact that Lightspeed has on small business, and so we're really excited about that. Health and beauty and sporting goods were even more impressive, because I think those two industries have influencers and sports figures that are actually lifting and being ambassadors and really lifting some of those independent businesses. Mm-hmm. So we think that the Lightspeed platform is something that can help businesses all around the world, and that's why we're acquiring these companies, because we want the platform to be everywhere.
So if I read between the lines, then what you're currently targeting in terms of your M&A strategy would be smaller players. You're not going to be going after big fish like you just did in Germany?
I think our M&A pipeline has a mix of a lot of different kinds of companies. So we acquire in a couple categories. One's for capabilities. For example, we acquired a company here in Toronto, which is part of our consumer loyalty team, a few years ago, and that's capability, adds to the platform. We also look at verticals. For example, Chronogolf brought the golf vertical, which is a complex retail and hospitality vertical, into Lightspeed. And then we do regions to accelerate Lightspeed's pace in a particular region, like Germany. Mm-hmm. We did an acquisition like Gastrofix or iCan2 or Counta in Australia and Switzerland. So those are the kinds of deals that we look for, in addition to growing very aggressively organically through software subscription and payments, which is a bigger part of our mix as the quarters go on.
Based on the financials I was looking at and some of the analyst notes I reviewed, there seems to be an assumption that you still have a good amount of cash on your balance sheet, but that if you wanted to do any big M&A, you would have to potentially go back to the markets. Do you have any plans to do any share sales in the near to medium future? Well,
Lightspeed's well capitalized, and we've been able to do all of the acquisitions that we have with the proceeds from our IPO last March, and we have this public currency as well as a credit line that we draw upon. I can't comment on future raises, but that's always a possibility for us as we move forward and want to be able to further execute on all of our plans.
Right, and one of your plans is you've recently announced you've been embedding payments into the software, which seems to be a theme in this sector. What have been some early learnings for Lightspeed POS?
The lines are blurring between software and payments. Customers are seeing these offered together, and we understand that's a logical next step for our industry as small businesses move from legacy into the cloud. They are seeing the cloud offering as a holistic one that includes software, includes modules like analytics and loyalty, and also includes payments as a part of it. And so blending all of that for the consumer as we go from early adopter to mass majority on the cloud front, and as we move these 47 million customers, of which we only have about 59,000. So everybody's very early in this journey to move people into the cloud. We kind of have to simplify. We have to simplify the offering and bundle things together so that as we move from early adopter into the majority, that they can adopt Lightspeed with less friction.
And final question, you've said that you're taking on larger merchants, larger customers lately. How deliberate is that move? Are you trying to move away from the small, medium-sized businesses a little bit and focus more on the larger fish? I've used that phrase twice.
Well, independent retail and restaurant is our it's our DNA, it's our bread and butter. We're not going to become an enterprise company, but people are doing larger and larger things with Lightspeed. We're seeing companies that started with a few locations go to many locations, or people start to plan franchises around the flexibility and versatility and power of what is in the Lightspeed cloud. So there are bigger opportunities coming our way, and we're scaling the platform. And of course, as I shared with you with the year in review, people are 6 times more successful in retail on the platform that brings in omnichannel, brings in e-commerce, loyalty, analytics into one place. These are all just growth drivers for small business.
Okay, I haven't got a time cue, so I do want to squeeze in one last one. What is your time frame for profitability?
So we bring customers onto the platform in a profitable manner. So we're very, very focused on those kinds of metrics. We'll have more news on that as we do our earnings report next year. Right. Our sort of path to that.
Next week, you mean?
Sorry, next week. But yeah, highly conscious of this. We've always taken a very balanced approach. We want to capture this huge market, but we also want to be to grow in a way that the market understands is balanced.
Dax, thanks so much for your insights and for coming in to speak to me today.
Yeah, thanks for being at Lightspeed Toronto.
That's Dax Dasilva. He's the founder and CEO of Lightspeed POS. John, I'll send it back to the desk.
Paige, thanks.